Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MoPod, brought to you by MoDate, where we discuss everything Mo, from modern orthodoxy to my opinions and more. I'm your host, Evan Harris, and we have a great guest for you today. Let's get to it.
Today, we're sitting down with Evan Harris, founder and CEO of MoDate, and also renowned author. My name is Mikey Pollock, and I am a guest host today. And this Purim, seemingly the podcast might be coming out on Purim. Correct, Evan?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Just for viewers, Evan nodded. Evan does not know yet that you actually have to verbally speak in a podcast for people to realize what's happening. So
What is that? I said yes.
You said yes after a nod, though. We're doing a Vinafochu kind of thing, right? Fair?
That's the idea, yeah.
That's the idea. And also, Evan's an interesting human being. So, Evan, could you dive right in and you could tell us your story, where you're from, and your general interview icebreaker? Who are you?
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Michael, for taking the time to be here today and to interview me. My name's Evan Harris. I'm from the Five Towns, and I went to
Anyone
Hafter.
specifically?
I'm from I'm from the Five Towns. We don't have to get too specific right now. I went to Hafter, and then I went to Oraita for my year in Israel, and then I went to Baruch. Now I'm living on the Upper West Side, working in marketing, and I run a dating platform as a side gig.
Why did you decide to start MoDate?
Sure. So I decided to start MoDate because I felt that as a classic modern Orthodox person, talking to friends, there was what you say something, Michael?
Good self-awareness.
Oh, thank you. That I was talking to friends and I realized there was no real solution for modern Orthodox dating. I felt like the people that were more to the right religiously were going to shadchans and were cool with that. And then the people that were more to the left religiously were totally okay with just standard dating apps. But people that were more in my circles were trying to get set up by friends, but there was no systematic way to do that. So I wanted to create that system.
Great. So that you touch on something I want to discuss, and I want to discuss your dating life before MoDate. So what you said you're not a shotgun guy. Maybe you were a shotgun guy, but there's this confusion of where people are. So how did you approach dating before you started MoDate?
Sure, yeah. So I am in a relationship now, but before I started MoDate, while I was starting MoDate, I was trying everything. I mean, I was, talking to shotguns, I was on the apps, and I, heard about these stigmas, but I like to do things pretty quickly. I would say impatience is something that I struggle with. And so I just felt like, I don't really care about the stigmas. Let me just try things and see what works, see the problems. And that's really how it all went down.
What did that look like? Like an impatient person who wanted to date. What's that practically? Or
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. If you're someone who really focuses on priorities and your top priority is dating, then it's a grueling process because it's not something that can be built in a day, obviously. And also the dating process doesn't make it any easier with all the formalities that are involved, especially in the Orthodox world. And so part of the reason I started the MoPod, I mean, the main reason I started the MoPod was because I thought it'd be fun. And I think it is fun. But part of the reason I started the MoPod was because I thought that a lot of these formalities of dating and just conversating, conversing with people,
good word.
yeah, are like too much, and they shouldn't exist. And I don't want people to hate dating. I think that a lot of people hate dating, and you shouldn't hate going on the dates. I understand hating the in-betweens and the before period, though, when you agree to a date, but before you go on the date, the stress before the yes, that was a very early episode of the MoPod. But stress
We all
after
remember all
stress
the things.
after the yes, whatever. Stress in between the yes and the going on the date. But yeah, I don't think dates should be hated. So that was part of the reason.
Yeah, no, I strongly agree. For the viewers out there who don't know my background, there's tens of thousands of you in the Moverse listening. Um, I
Hundreds.
have a somewhat complicated relationship myself, and I was dating people, not my current girlfriend at the time. And I did think there's a lot of like, it's fun. You should be doing this like, to be fun. Like, I want to do fun activities myself. Like, I like doing fun things. So why not do it with someone else? And like, get to know someone and be curious while you're going through that process. Like, I for sure agree. Like, it you can do fun things and meet new people and be curious and have a fun time. And like, that's what, to me, that's what dating should be. So I strongly relate to that. But and this is a yes or no question, which could be saved for the lightning round, but I ask it now. Did you or did you not make MoDate to find a wife?
I did not make MoDate to find a wife. I think, a lot of people have asked me that and kind of told me that more so than asking. and,
Evan, I
and,
swear to you, you made MoDate to find a wife.
and so, I'm in a very happy relationship right now, and I'm still firing on all cylinders when it comes to MoDate. So I think that anyone who said that is clearly wrong. I just felt like I was benefiting from people trying to help me, whether it be shadchlins and or friends or whoever it was. And I thought there's a way to scale this up. It's not going to be so easy, but there's a way to do it. And as MoDate continues to grow, like regardless of my relationship status, it just became so fun to be able to, and like made me feel good to be able to do this and help people and see that there are real results coming from this, especially now with our recent engagement, but also just dates coming and conversations happening. It's a nice feeling.
Talking about MoDate, what would you say MoDate's biggest success is, either from like a platform or your personal success within MoDate, or both? Could be the same.
Sure, yeah. So a lot of people have asked me, is MoDate successful? And the only answer they want is, has anyone gotten married from MoDate? That's really what people are looking for. But I wouldn't say the biggest success from MoDate is the fact that someone, there's a couple that's now engaged. I mean, that's obviously what we were going for. But the success is the numbers and the fact that if you mention MoDate at a meal on the Upper West Side and I'm not there, people still know what it is. I once went to a meal where someone brought up where I didn't know the people there for the most part, and I mentioned that I ran MoDate, and this was a while ago. This was maybe like a year ago. So I don't think there was a website at that point. And so someone, like I mentioned that I started MoDate, and someone was like, "Oh wow, another meal where we're talking about MoDate." And I hadn't been at any other meals with this person, so it's like if that's a year ago, and things are just getting more and more legit now, then I think that's a big success because really it's a numbers game. We could all pretend that we know like who's gonna fit the best with who and things like that, but there's no real science to that. So just if you have more numbers, then people will get married.
Could you share some of the numbers you're referring to?
Sure, yeah. So I mean, there are over 950 daters on MoDate right now.
Wow.
There are over 600 connectors, and I mean, we have over 1,000 Instagram followers, and
At least
obviously,
two of who which are fake.
what?
At least two of who are fake.
Okay, now we have like 1,100, so
Oh,
it doesn't
really?
really, yeah. So we started a new thing with Instagram to try to ramp it up, and so far it looks like it's working, but we'll keep that going. Like I also do some influencer type Instagram stories these days, which the people seem to like. So we're going to keep that going and just some different strategies that I work through with our marketing team. So that's going well. But yeah, I mean those numbers are great, and I don't know like what the market size is of people who are basically modern Orthodox, looking to date. But obviously, there's room to grow, room to expand in Israel and different places outside of New York, and just room to get more people on the platform as we continue to improve the processes. But yeah, I mean, I'm proud of those numbers, and I hope to see them keep going up.
Yeah. So for reference for the viewers who didn't get the joke I said, two who were fake, I have a few Instagram accounts I run, and Evan was trying to get to 1,000 followers. So when he was 998, I added two of my fake accounts to MoDate to get them to 1,000. But it's good to hear you have other viewers. But 950 daters to me is a number that's very impressive. Um, that's like a real accomplishment. I mean, you don't know the market size. I certainly don't know the market size. I have no idea how many people are on like other apps or platforms that are comparable. Um, but 950 is like a shul's worth of, like Maryland's Jewish community, Orthodox community was like the number people said was like 500, and that's like seemingly huge. So you have like seemingly two Maryland's worth of like communities on this app, which is like a ton.
Yeah, I mean, usually when like people are asking me about numbers, I usually ask them if they want their unit size to be Maryland's. So I also tell people, yeah, we have like 1.95 Maryland's on the app. So yeah, I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah, it's as a University of Maryland alum, I everything in my life relates to that number.
Like, how much did you pay for your computer? Oh, like 2.3 Maryland's.
1/15 of Maryland tuition. Anyway, do you know like the breakdown of males to females of that 950 and how active people are?
No, I mean, I could know it. Like, I would just have to pull the data.
Sure.
I mean, there are definitely more females than males. Recently, a very interesting study came out that we're actually going to discuss on this podcast, which was partially run by Naomi Rosenbach, who we already had on the podcast, but at the time she wasn't able to share the numbers. So we're going to run that back. And she pulled some numbers on the shidduch crisis to see, like, does it exist? Like, what's it like in different communities? And no spoilers right now, but it's definitely going to be an interesting podcast in the future. But for our sake, we do have more females than males on MoDate, and that's something we're trying to fix. If I had to guess, like, why, I don't know if your next question is why. You could ask why if you want.
I was going to ask what your like the reason the share crisis is, but like yeah, this is like
Yeah. So ask why.
hey Evan, why?
So I think one reason for MoDate is because guys don't really want to be connectors. I think that usually when you think about people sending people suggestions or things like that, it usually comes from a girl. I don't know why, but it just seems to be the case. So that's one reason for MoDate specifically that we have to think about. And usually girls know girls. But also, I think there are a few factors that everyone attributes to the shidduch crisis. I don't want to get too far into it because we talk about it all the time on this podcast, and there's going to be one specifically about that. But for MoDate specifically, like a thing that people might not think about is that you don't see a lot of men signing up to be connectors, which is sad, but it's true.
Yeah, sure. And definitely looking forward to that episode, which should be very interesting. I read the article and it was definitely an interesting article that you sent. So the opposite side of the biggest success of MoDate, which you said the numbers, what would you say the biggest failure of MoDate is?
The biggest failure of MoDate.
Yeah.
I would say that the biggest failure of MoDate is also the numbers.
Interesting. Say more.
Yeah. So I think that we obviously have this great infrastructure for setting people up, and our growth has been very interesting. It's so since we like started as a Google form and then moved to this website, it's very unclear how many people we had on MoDate before the website started, because how many people just filled out the form and then never got any suggestions, I don't know. And now it's also like we're very focused in New York, which makes sense. We're in New York. This is kind of the hub, but I think that there's just so much growth potential with what we have and with what Menachem Los have built, and now we have more help on the tech team. So I think I definitely, those numbers are good, and I am proud of them, but like we could still get them better, and we still also can improve the ratio in ways that we still have to figure out. But so it's both a success and a failure because we know we could do better, but we are still happy with the fact that we got anything.
Sure. So I thought you were going to say that you had siblings match with each other and MoDate was the biggest failure, but
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a stupid thing to say because like how exactly would we prevent that from happening? I mean, any other dating app, like you'll see your sibling if they're on it. It's not like these large scale apps are asking, oh, by the way, is there anyone you specifically don't want to match with if they're on the app? And then you choose them and like they're not like, oh, do you want to match with people that have the same last name as you? Didn't Franklin Roosevelt and Eleanor Roosevelt have the same last name before they got married? Look that up, Michael, after the podcast.
okay. So heard it from Evan that the Roosevelts are incestuous.
Not incestuous. They weren't related. They just had the
Oh,
same
they
last
were.
name. They had the
Okay.
same last name.
So you're saying you can't just make something in an algorithm like if people have the same last name, like if your last name is like cats and cats, I'm not going to match any cats because like okay, fine, they might be siblings, but like how many Jewish cats are there?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I wouldn't match cats and dogs, but
Nice,
thank you.
nice. See what you did there. Okay, I want to move on to the section where I talk about you as an entrepreneur. I'm not going to ask you to spell entrepreneur because I can't fact check you, and I know you can spell entrepreneur.
Before we move on, Michael, I just want to take a minute to send over a message from our sponsors. So
Your sponsors?
Talia Riddles at Graphics by Talia on the Instagram, she obviously created, well, I don't know if it's obvious to new listeners, but people who have been with us since the beginning, she created the graphic of me that is the MoPod cover. She has an awesome Instagram account and also creates graphics for people all the time. She is super easy to work with. And what she does that's so amazing is she creates these graphics without facial features, but you could still basically tell who it is. It's a very cool thing. So definitely recommend following at Graphics by Talia on Instagram, DMing her to request a custom illustration of your own. And if you mention the MoPod, you get $10 off your order. So that's great. And
Oh my
she
God.
is making a great illustration of Michael, our guest host for today. So excited to see that. And yeah, it makes a great gift for graduations, birthdays, bridal showers, and more. Graphics by Talia.
Okay, I just checked out her Instagram. I mean, it's just like a great thing to do while hosting a podcast is look at someone else's Instagram. But yeah, I'm like very impressed with this. I don't know how human beings make art like this, but yeah, she's a whole thing in the office now. Um, oh, that's funny. These are great. I'm gonna stop being distracted. But good stuff, Talia Ritholtz. I don't know who you are, but good art. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to the entrepreneur section of the podcast. And I was wondering what past ventures you've had as an entrepreneur.
Oh, sure. That's a great question. I like that one. There are answers to that.
Great.
So basically, when I was in fifth grade, I sold kooky pens. I don't know if everyone remembers what kooky pens are. They are pens, yeah, pens with hair that stuck out. They
Yeah.
cost like $3 if you bought them from the store. I brought them to school. Kids in fifth grade, they're not necessarily going to the kooky pen store, not so easy to access. So I brought them to school and tried to sell them for $5. It was ultimately a failure, um, for reasons we don't have to discuss on the podcast.
Whoa.
People just took the kooky pens without paying for them. So it was a whole thing. It was a whole commotion, big scandal.
Sounds like
But
bullying happened.
yeah. I mean, listen, it wasn't great. Um, but whatever. That was really my first taste, I guess you could say, of entrepreneurship. Then I sold snacks out of a locker in middle school, Snack Shack. That was pretty limited though.
A classic middle school venture.
Classic, yeah. Then so when we were in Israel together at Yeshiva Sarai, so that's how we know each other. I don't feel like maybe we should have mentioned that, but when we were there was this leadership class that happened at the end of the year. I don't know if you were in that. It was a once a week thing with Rav Shulman. And so we were coming up with different ideas of how we could be leaders on campus. It's a big thing with the right to like leading by example in your Judaism. And so one idea I had was to start something called Stark Tank. So turns out like there are tons of different Stark Tanks because like it's a very it's a pretty easy name to think of when you think of like Jewish ideas. But
There's also a show called Shark Tank.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was like implied.
That's
But
the fun.
yeah, that's the pun. But there was this event for JLIC for people that were going to college campus the year after Israel, and I ran after coming up with that idea. Rav Shulman empowered me to run an event called Shark Tank, where people would present to different JLIC leaders ideas that they had for college campus, like different events or different initiatives. And then, even after Israel, Rav Shulman led a Shark Tank with his organization Yavne downtown when I was downtown, and I was there as well involved. So that was like my first taste of, I guess, like Jewish entrepreneurism, and that was definitely awesome. I also, I think you're waiting for me to get to the children's book, which I'll get there, but I also started a company with a couple of friends called Quigo. That was going to be an activity planner, scheduler, personalized. Still an idea I have, but it was just ultimately kind of hard to maintain that and figure out how exactly it should work. And then I also wrote a children's book. I wrote a song called Chasing Clouds, which I worked on with a few friends. So that's available on all on all music streaming platforms. Chasing Clouds
Why is it
by
not the theme of this podcast? Like,
it
why
is
isn't
it is it is the theme of this podcast. It's the intro and the outro of this podcast. So
Is it really?
yeah, Chasing Clouds,
That's a
the
great series.
801, King Sal, Yoni Gelfand, Sammy K.
Is your stage name Bad Computer?
What? No, I
Is
mean,
your no?
no. My stage name was the 801.
Okay, I just looked up Chasing Clouds, and on Spotify, there's a lot of songs called Chasing Clouds.
Yeah, we're not the top Chasing Clouds by any means, but for at least a day, we were.
Okay, I just want to clarify that I don't personally see you, but that's just because my Spotify is probably rigged against you. Um,
Okay.
sorry, I don't want to get distracted. And your book,
Yeah. Hoppy Hopperson's Day Off.
one more time.
Hoppy Hopperson's Day Off.
You want to say a little more about it?
No, you want me to talk about it? So I saw a TikTok that said a great way to make passive income was by writing a children's ebook. I personally am very good at rhyming, and so it's kind of random skill, but it's a fact. And so I decided to try this. I wrote an ebook very quickly, put it on like the Kindle store or whatever you call it. And it didn't really take off because there was no like marketing for it. But then my friend heard that I was doing this. It was actually also Menachem Losev. So, he's hand in hand in these ventures. And he said,
For
you should just
clarification, Menachem Losev is the CFO, CTO,
CTO.
CTO of MoDate.
Yeah. And so he said, you should really just write a full book. So I spoke to some people that were publishing or published a book, and I figured out how to do it through Amazon, and the rest is history. Hoppy Hopperson's Day Off, available on Amazon.
Yes. Okay. No, so you've definitely had a lot of ventures, and it's impressive. I have had, I think, no ventures, maybe one. I think in a right that I started an ironing business that did not take off.
Oh, we also started. I was part of Rofix in Orita, if you
I thought you
remember
were
that.
um,
Yeah.
a laundry service. But yeah, no, you're an entrepreneurial dude, and it's impressive that now you have I think, a platform with almost 1,000 people on it.
Well,
Like,
technically, there
yeah,
are more than 1,000 people on it.
no, I'm saying, but you're like your target consumer, I would say. I don't know, modators. What's I mean, I guess this is a different question. What's like more important, the data or the connector? Like they're
Both are
both important, I
important.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, with over 1,000 people on it, and a big following on Instagram, and like, yeah, it takes a lot of effort, and I guess something sticks. And this is seemingly the thing that's sticking. So, which leads me on to my next and final question for the lightning round is, you know,
This is the lightning round.
no, before we get to the lightning round,
Oh, okay.
the how are you going to monetize, and where do you see MoDate going? Like, what's the future of MoDate?
The future of MoDate. So a lot of people ask me this, obviously. Monetize. So there's a difference between different kinds of goals, right? Like there are goals that you think you'll actually accomplish, and have a chance. And there are stretch goals, which are kind of like dreams and whatnot. So monetization was never like one of the basic goals, because we have a pretty small target market, and it was always to just like help people in the community. And obviously, I guess more time went into it than we expected because of it sticking and just different things coming up. But different ways to monetize, would be either ads would be a way, and just different deals with people. We could monetize from events theoretically. I don't want to charge you know a fee to ever use MoDate. We're definitely not there yet, but I don't think, like, I never want to do that. Maybe like a premium MoDate that could come with a fee, but still very far away. So that right now in my mind is a stretch goal. But the future of MoDate is just to keep growing. I want to be the preeminent player in this orthodox dating field. And I just want more people, to have a good experience, for dating to not feel like the worst thing in the world, and to get married. And so those are the goals, really.
Yeah, good for you. No, because I definitely strongly agree. I would be hard pressed to see anyone who doesn't agree with those kind of goals. Maybe there's a band of people who don't like marriage or like dating out there. But yeah, no, good for you. Would you want to like do this like full time in theory, like as a job?
I mean, if the situation arose where this was lucrative enough for me to do it full time, I mean, I'm definitely very passionate about it, and that would be great. But that's not something that's on my mind right now.
Okay, fair enough. So let's move on to everyone's favorite part of the MoPod, which is the lightning round. I don't know if we've ever done a poll if this is everyone's favorite part of the MoPod.
No, I've never. No, I just say that.
Yeah.
I've never.
Okay.
I've never asked.
If anyone doesn't like the lightning round, DM us or DM the MoPod or email Evan. Do something, because maybe people hate it. Maybe people are like, "Oh, this is the worst."
You can just stop listening if you don't like the lightning round.
But then you missed the end tagline, which I don't want to spoil now. But the objectively best part is the tagline at the end. So I understand why people wouldn't want to skip. Listen, DM us with your thoughts and comments, criticism, compliments. Anyway, the lightning round. Best restaurant in Israel.
Pasta Basta.
Okay, answer. Have you heard of Dingman's Ferry in PA?
Yeah, I used to have my family used to have a house in Dingman's Ferry, Pennsylvania.
How many subway cars are currently operating in the city?
25,000.
That's a lot of cars.
Yeah.
Do you count a train as a car, or each train has like multiple cars?
That's it depends how close my answer is.
Okay. Best date spot.
Tempura.
Worst date spot.
Like a cemetery.
Disagree. Is the Upper West Side too excessive dating?
Yes and no. Dating's important, and like you need to date to get married, but you don't have to. If you talk about it too much, then it could be the only thing you're focused on, and that's where the difficulty with the process becomes very hard.
And pump the volume.
So wait, I have one question for you, Michael.
Yeah, what's up?
A lightning round style question.
Ooh.
Which do you prefer? Which version of Misha Nechnas Adar do you prefer? The Misha or the Misha Nechnas Adar? Which version?
I like the first part, the second one you said, when it goes into the first one you said. Like start slow, then go fast.
Please sing it for us.
Do you want to lose all your viewership forever?
please sing it for us.
Misha Nechnas Adar.
Thank you for listening. Happy Purim. Pump the volume.